Hello, this is Tim Smolens, and today I want to show you my approach to incorporating polyrhythms into compositions and how to systematically lay them out as a template in your DAW project files. In my case, I use Digital Performer, but most modern DAWs have these same functions, and you might just have to research what the idiosyncratic way to achieve that in your DAW is, but the principles are the same. Please take a moment to subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to grow this thing and it's very difficult, so your subscription really helps. Make comments, watch other videos. I've got playlists of all the different categories of stuff I cover, which is pretty diverse in the music education realm, so please check that out. I do also have a Patreon, which I would be thrilled if you would consider joining. It's called High Castle Conservatory, where we do everything here but way more of it and really make it a unique conservatory experience. Showcasing the kind of odd things that I'm good at, which you can look in those video playlists on my channel here if you want to see what some of those things are. But please come to my Patreon and subscribe to one of the tiers. So who will like this video? I like to do a little brief section that says who might like this video. I don't want to waste your time. If this is just not your thing, I'd rather you just say, hey, I'll check out one of his other videos than go through this whole thing and be like, man, that was just way too geeky for me or something. I think anyone who's interested in how rhythm plays a role in composition and harmony even will like this video. I think anyone who's interested in incorporating some more polyrhythms into their music will. If you're only interested in counting in threes and fours, then it might not be for you, but just wanted to put that out there. So if you are interested in rhythm and how to make increasingly advanced rhythms, and sometimes, in a subtle way, this might be for you. I have made a MIDI file of 2 bars that has, it's a general MIDI file. It has every polyrhythm you might want to use kind of in order. 3 swing, 6, 5, 7, 9, every type of thing up until like 15 or something like that. What is a polyrhythm? A polyrhythm uses 2 different rhythms simultaneously. And it could be as simple, some people might call doing, 2, 3, 4, 1, and eighth notes is a polyrhythm, even though it's just a double of quarter notes. But you can get up to some weird polyrhythms where you're doing 5 in the time of 4, 7 in the time of 4. Most humans only really have the ability to feel rhythms in 3s and 4s. And 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or a waltz, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But when it comes to 7, 8, or 9, 8, or 11, 8, most humans, it's not in their thing. Even most musicians can't necessarily do that. Most musicians only play in 3s and 4s. The audience, in general, wants music in 3s and 4s. But I think understanding some of the more obscure polyrhythms like 5s and 7s and 9s really can add some serious flavor to music that is worth taking the time to understand. But the audience is going to want it in 4. Maybe 1 or 2 of the songs can be in 3. Prog music or progressive music, prog rock, is known for doing stuff in different time signatures. 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or short, long, all kinds of different stuff. Progressive music is known to count in that, and they're kind of known for being geeks for doing it among punk rockers and rock people who kind of turn their nose up at the idea of going any further than counting in 4 or maybe an occasional 3. And they are guilty of some of that sort of dorkiness, but I still think it's important to understand those numbers. Prog music usually doesn't do it necessarily as a polyrhythm. It just puts the whole song into, let's say 7, 8. So we're all counting in 7. It's not like it's doing 7 against 4s or what I'm talking about here. But I do think prog rock musicians will understand this lesson much easier than other people will, even if you want to turn your nose up at them. Fantastic drummers and percussionists are able to do more exotic and difficult to pull off polyrhythms, such as 5/4, 7/8, or 3/7. I remember someone a long time ago told me to think of the word university, which has 5 syllables, university, over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, university, for university. There are ways to conceptualize it, but they are very difficult. But the overwhelming majority of the population, including most musicians, cannot do some of these other polyrhythms, 5s and 7s and 9s, including to some degree myself. People like me, I can conceptualize it, I can sketch it out in my DAW, I can have the computer play it for me, and then I can learn to play it. but it doesn't always come naturally. I've played with some musicians that are very good at that. Dave Murray from Stratosphere used to push all kinds of polyrhythms on us. He was very inspired by Meshuggah. Trey from Secret Chiefs 3 is unbelievable at polyrhythms and uses it very frequently in Secret Chiefs 3. My other Stratosphere bandmates were very good at polyrhythms. I'm okay at them. I'm getting better, and I'm using some of the stuff I'm going to show you in here to get better at them, but they don't always come naturally once you step outside of the 3s and the 4s, when you start incorporating 5s and 7s. Check out Secret Chiefs 3, their first Masada record, Zaphan, Book of Angels, Volume 9, uses a bunch of interesting polyrhythms. Most music does use some degree of simple polyrhythms, those 3s and 4s, to keep the music flowing, doom, ba-doom, boom. Even those kind of things are little simple polyrhythms, but they're not difficult to pull off. So those are the 3s and 4s, and music does require that to keep a pulse, because if we were all just doing the same thing, it wouldn't go very well. It would be very, very boring. I mean, take for example a triplet. If I'm playing in 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then I want to do a quarter note triplet, trip, ba, la, trip, ba. So it's 3 in that time of 4, trip, ba, la. But let's say I was going to play a melody. Maybe I just play only triplets. So it's not just a lot of times triplets get used as like doom, doom, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, trip, ba, la, then back to it. Instead of just saying, I'm going to just stay in triplets. So trip, you could do whatever you want with incorporating triplets, but 3s and 4s generally are something that are used by composers and arrangers. So let me just give you a big warning here. If you're going to go down this alley, and this is new to some of you, some of these rhythms you will hear will sound odd and jarring, and they may be a bit of an acquired taste, as they are going to be foreign to the average ear. I have heard plenty of African percussion, African records, or Arabic percussion ensembles, or the Moroccan chabi rhythms, where I'm listening to some of these masters play, and in my mind I'm just going like, what is that crazy thing they're doing? Like, it's polyrhythms. That's what they're doing. And there's feel, and there's all this other kinds of stuff they could be doing, dynamics and stuff. But really, when you're like, what the hell is that? It's a polyrhythm. But it can be jarring, and like I said, it's a bit of an acquired taste. I would say don't give up on it easily. If you start hearing some of the ones I'm going to be playing for you later here, and that sounds so strange. Our ears are only used to the 3s and 4s, so stick with it, be patient, give it a little time, try incorporating them into your compositions. You can do it, like I said, subtly, moderately, or in an extreme manner. When percussion is playing in strange polyrhythms, it kind of has the sound my wife says when I'm showing her some of these sequences of like rain pattering down in different rhythms. It kind of has this like push-pull feel. It's very different than your average it definitely is not something you hear at like a hippie drum circle, which is just going to be the doom, ba-doom, boom, doom, boom, the rhythms that everyone's expecting. If you do it with instruments instead of percussion, it's less jarring because it doesn't have as much attack. Violins and strings and flutes, they don't really have a real attack on the instrument, so it doesn't just hit the ear as a rhythm. It ends up sounding more kaleidoscopic and is an excellent tool for composition, as I'll demonstrate later. Why are these exotic polyrhythms important for composers who are looking to advance to get under their belt? Rhythm has a profound relationship to harmony. Music, is really just ratios happening on two axes. Every harmony is some different ratio, and it's outlined by the harmonic series and dictated by nature itself. It's not a human conception. Humans are free to discover it, but the harmonic series, you can look it up, is a law of nature, and it just exists. So we have on one plane, we have harmony, which is different ratios of how things relate to one, or a fundamental, or the bass note, whatever you want to call it, the one of the key. And the other plane, which is completely separate, you could call them like an X and a Y axis, would be rhythm. So the rhythms are happening and harmonies are happening, and they're both the same thing. I mean, rhythms are harmonies. Harmonies are just vibrating so fast, our ear hears it basically as a note instead of just as a crazy polyrhythm. But it is a polyrhythm. Kind of like I said that 3 and 4 are the most common rhythms to the average ear, the ratio of 3 and 4 in the harmonic series, not coincidentally, make the most common and open harmonic consonants in music. It's what we call in Western music the perfect fifth, but it's kind of a misnomer because it's actually given to us by the third harmonic in the harmonic series that nature has built into every pitched instrument. I'm not going to digress here. See my video on harmonic science, and I have a series on harmonic science that's going to be continual releases that you should really check out that goes into all of this stuff. So if I say that the perfect fifth harmony is actually given to us by the third harmonic, the root of that perfect fifth is the first harmonic, which is related to 4 because in the harmonic series, any double is the same note. If this sounds too complex, see if this is very simple. Anytime you double a note in the harmonic series, it's an octave higher, or if you half it, it's an octave lower. So if 1 is C, then 2 is C an octave higher, 4 is C an octave higher, 8 is C an octave higher. If 3 is that perfect fifth note by the third harmonic, the sixth, and it's a G, then 3 is G, 6 is G an octave higher, 12 is G an octave higher, 6 is G an octave lower. It makes perfect sense that every double, unlike the system in Western music, which calls 8 because it uses the major scale as the basis of its number naming, which is totally not the right thing to do, but we're too far down that road, so you're required to understand it in that way. They call it an octave, but it's really made by a double or a half. But I'm not going to digress anymore. Check out my video on harmonic science and follow that series that I'm going to be continuing to release. So if 3 and 4 give us our basic harmonies and are universal, the ones that everyone understands, the notes 5, 7, 9, 11, etc. of the harmonic series give off more exotic harmonies, which are also polyrhythms and exotic polyrhythms. The fifth harmonic is pretty close to the harmony we call the major third in Western music. The seventh harmonic is kind of close to the minor seventh or dominant seventh, although it's much flatter in the harmonic series and sounds a little bit more harmonious. Our dominant 7 is very sharp and has a tension that's kind of useful. It's a dominant chord that wants things to keep moving. And 9 is actually the same in the harmonic series and Western music. So when we say a ninth, it's actually one of the few places that the two accord. And if you know the meaning of the number 9, which I'm not going to get into here, in some philosophy, it actually makes sense that it would converge on that part. But I'm not going to get into any of that here. Anyway, one of the secrets of music is that rhythms and harmonies are the same thing. That's really kind of mind-blowing because that's not what we're taught. Harmonies are just vibrating faster, so we perceive it as a pitched note. What is the difference in a pitched note and something just a sound? You don't hear a pitched. Is that it contains the harmonic series. If something contains the harmonic series, who's texting me? Should have turned that off. Sorry. A pitched instrument that you hear the notes. That was really a great example right there. Contains a harmonic series, whereas contains a disjointed harmonics that are not in accord with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the ratios of the harmonic series. So check out this chart on string resonance here, and you can see when you hit one string, it's the top of that, which would be considered the 1, and then the second harmonic there, the next one down, would be the octave up, and that's like the 12th fret on your guitar because it cuts the string in two. And what do you know? Isn't that 12th fret on your guitar the octave? Yes, it is. Then the next harmonic is right there, and it makes that perfect fifth, but I told you it's really the third harmonic. Then 4 is just a double of 2, so it's the same as 1. 5 is a new note. 6 is a double of 3. 7 is a new note. But those are all going on inside of any vibrating string at all times. And it's a law of music and nature that musicians should really do a better job at understanding, because we understand practical theory, but as far as like scientific theory of music, I would say it's taught very poorly, if at all, in any kind of university music curriculum. So I have made a general MIDI file that anyone can drag into their DAW that has all of these different polyrhythms you might want to use. It's a 2-bar phrase, and it kind of shows every type of polyrhythm that I might want to use in that 2-bar phrase, all in the context of 4/4. 4/4 is our master, so it's 2 bars of 4/4, and then you see here you have all these custom click tracks I've created. So if you pull it into your DAW, I'm triggering a sound in a synth, a really low CPU intensive synth called Expand, but it's not going to line up to your percussion track. So what you would have to do is go into your assign it to your own percussion, whether you use Contact or some kind of other thing. You're going to have to look at it and then reassign the sounds. You'd highlight all the sounds. Let me expand this a little bit. You can see the MIDI notes get a little bigger. That's a little better there. Sorry. That's really exciting. So you would have to say, You can see here you do an accent on the 1. If you don't want an accent on the 1, you drag these to the same track that the main 1 is on, but you would just reassign this note, which is the main click, to whatever note triggers the sound you like for a click in your virtual instrument that you're using. So it will take a little bit of work, but at least the rhythms are already cut out for you, which is pretty convenient. So I have one for every rhythm. You would need to spend maybe 10 or 15 minutes reassigning them and make that a template for yourself. So you are able to get this MIDI file only on my Patreon, even for the lowest paying tier. This general MIDI file is took me quite a bit of time to make it, so it is worthwhile. Like I said earlier, you do have to decide if you want an accent on the 1. I, in general, do like an accent on the 1, so that's like a different, whatever the sound. It could be a stick click, then a cowbell, or as long as it's a different sound, it kind of tells the person it's a 1. I've sent clicks to people before that have that accent, some very well-known drummers, at least in the scenes I ride in, that despise that I had an accent on the 1. So, everyone might have a different preference there. But anyway, this is my DAW file. You can see I can, in my DAW Digital Performer, I'm sure most of them do this, have folders. I remember when that feature came along like 20 years ago. We're like, yes, I can finally group my tracks into something. But when I open this folders track, you can see every click pops out. I have them all triggering the same synthesizer, so only one synthesizer. That's a virtual instrument called Expand, and it's just some side sticks menu that I'm using for a click. It's not the best clicks ever. Digital Performer also has its own internal click, which we will still use here for the, if I press solo here, and it has its own, that's just the 4/4 click, 1, 2, 3, 4. So everything we do will be in relationship to that. So nice to have this folders that you can, collapse tracks and hide them away so you don't have to see them, but you can still kind of see there's a bunch of stuff in that track right there. Let me go over how I created these clicks really briefly. In Digital Performer, it's called step recording, where I just kind of say the rhythm I want and then type in, hit a keyboard for how many I want, and it puts them in for me. It might be called something else in other. So when you're dealing with polyrhythms, you got to be a little bit creative. You got to think there's 4 quarter notes in a bar of 4/4. So if I want 3 in that time, I'll say a tuplet here, and I want 3 in the time of 4 quarter notes. See, I put quarter there. So if I hit my keyboard 3 times, 1, 2, 3, it's going to just place those in. It's percussion, so we don't need a duration to be so long. I usually go 50% on these so I can see the spaces. See how there's spaces between those dots? I really like to see those. So I'll put my duration to about 50%. Let's say I wanted 3 in the time of 2 bars. So in 2 bars, you have not 4 quarter notes, but 8 quarter notes. So when I type in my 3, it would evenly spread out basically a triplet over 2 bars. And so on and so forth. If I wanted 9 in the time of 2 bars, we know that there's 8 quarter notes in 2 bars, and I'll say a tuplet. And like I said, tuplet doesn't mean triplet. It means any grouping of numbers. So this would spread out 9 in the time of 8. So it might take a little getting used to with how to input all those numbers, but come over to my Patreon and you will get the MIDI file where you can just import all of this, which is just 2 bars. And then when we want to use a certain rhythm, we'll just take, the click and copy those 2 bars, and then we'll copy it a bunch of times. There's ways to copy for long periods of time. But sometimes I like my click to change. So there's 2 approaches to click. You can use the internal click, which I'm just, letting be the 4/4 click, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's this MOTU one, and you can change it and I can say no accent or no cowbell, or change the sound that it is. And that's like generated audio instead of MIDI like over here. But if you want to start getting tweaky with it, and Digital Performer would allow me to make that click, 8th notes or 16th notes, but we're going way beyond that, and I don't want to deal with a polyrhythmic click as the master click. I want to deal with 4/4 and 4 beats, and every other weird one is going to come from me and deciding, so I would turn off this click, and then we would make a custom click of what we actually want to use in any given section. Or maybe there's only one instrument that's doing one of these polyrhythms, so we'll audition that and play over that click, and then we'll, mute it so that we don't have to hear it. So let me just briefly show you each of these clicks. I'm going to turn off this DP internal click, and so now if we want 3 in the time of 4, I press play here, and we get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Just to show you how that conflicts with the 4-1, it's 1. Remember how I told you 3 and 4 are the most complementary thing? It's that it's like a polyrhythm that everyone knows, and when you do anything beyond that, it's like, whoa, 7/4 or whatever. So that's 3 in the time of 1 bar. Now we have, related to 3 is something half as slow as 3, so it'd be 3 in the time of 2 bars, and that's something people don't think about as much in rhythm. So 1, 2, 3. Listen to how that relates to the main master 4/4 click. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You know, have a cello play that, or have something else that's just really subtle. And you'd be like, what is that rhythm right there? 4 click is the same thing as the 4/4 click we have going on, just in this one. I might as well have it in the MIDI file. 5 is 5 in the time of 4, and now it starts getting tough. For university. And if I play it with the 4/4 click, you're going to hear the colliding that it does. University. It's hard. That's a 5 is a messed up rhythm. Remember, 5 yields us the idea of a major third, though. So it's actually a really important harmony that is extremely underused in music. So remember, anytime you have a 5, you have the idea of half as slow as that. We obviously have the idea of double, too. So we have 10 up here, which we'll get to. So I could drag that 10 here because it's related to 5. It's a double. Any double is just an octave. Even in rhythm, it's like the difference between quarter and eighth notes, how those are related. But how about 5 in the course of 2 bars? So it would be 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, sorry, let's take off the DP internal. 2, 3, 4, 5. Wife's vacuuming up there. Uh-oh. I'm going to get in trouble. She's working. I'm down here doing music. That's a recipe for trouble. Let's get through this lesson. So 5 in the time of 2 bars. 2, 3, 4, 5. Against the DP click, it sounds like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 is just a double of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Now we have an idea, which I'm not saying I invented it, but no one showed it to me, so maybe I kind of did. I don't know what that means. Clicks can be in swing too. I know a lot of times in swing time, in 4, you don't need the click to be swing. You can do, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and the swing is just part of your playing. But sometimes you might want a click that actually swings so you can actually match up rhythms to that. So this would be 6 instead of straight. And remember what a swing is instead of the second note is later. It's dun 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 instead of da 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 doom ba doom, but like jazz doom ba 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 doom instead of da 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 da. And you can have partial swing too. You can, in quantize, you can say instead of a deep swing, it'd be like dum ba dum ba dum ba dum. But you could also be dum ba dum ba dum ba dum, where it's swinging a little bit, 20%, 30% instead of like 60 or 70% like they would in jazz. So anyway, here's a straight 6 click. Oh, take off the DP internal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 4, 5. Now a swung click. 1, and the interesting thing about actually, not in 6. Anytime you have an odd time swing click, it takes 2 bars to come back around. 6 is not an odd number, so that's not the case. Then we have 7 clicks, so 7 in the time of 1 bar. 1, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now with the DP click, you'll hear how 7, just like 5, is a crazy rhythm. Remember I said the rain pattering down? It starts to be that, where if you were to play something with this, I would mute the DP internal click and just have the 7 click going and kind of groove to that. That is doable. So we have also 7, half related to 7 is 14 would be its double, and a 14 swing is possible, but you also have the idea of 7 in over the course of 2 bars like we've been doing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a cool rhythm. It's pretty weird. 8 is just a double of 4, so it's a double of 2, double of 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 6, 7. Oh, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we have 9 in the time. That's another weird rhythm. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we're going to hear that crazy jarring rhythm if I turn on the DP internal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you have 9, you also have the possibility of 9 swing. And remember I said if you have an odd time swing, it takes 2 bars for it to come around, because 1, 2, 3, if this is the offbeat, this hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. The 1 of the second bar becomes on a downbeat. So it takes 2 full bars for it to come back to a downbeat being on the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I used that on the song The Days of Blue Jeans Are Gone on our High Castle Tele Orchestra album that I really hope you will consider picking up and download or vinyl or Digipack CD. But then we have 9 and 2 bars, just like before. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And remember I said you can just step input these if you wanted to. 9 and 2 bars would be, in 2 bars there's 8 quarter notes, right? And then we'll say 9 times instead of 8. 9 times. Why does that keep coming back? Then we have a 10 click, which is really just a double of a 5. So that's nothing abstract there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We also have the possibility of a swing 10, but it's not an odd number, so it's going to just repeat every 1 bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then we have 11 clicks, so 11 in the time of 1 bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we have 11 swing. Getting pretty weird here. I'm not sure how often I'm going to use 11 swing, but it's here if you need it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's odd, so it takes 2 full bars to come back around. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then 11 over 2 bars, which might be more reasonable than 11 in 1 bar. 1, 2, 6, 7, 8. Uh-oh, my wife is calling me here. Hey, hon, I'm in the middle of a lesson here. What's going on?
Oh, okay. I was going to say, Priscilla wanted to come to talk to you, but...
It's okay. Oh, I can be up in a minute. I'm not in trouble, am I?
No.
Okay, good.
Okay, bye.
I'll come talk to her in a minute. Okay,
Bye.
good. Thanks. Sorry, guys. So you have 11 in 2 bars, which I do think is more reasonable, but listen how weird and jarring that would be against the internal 4/4 click. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11's a cool harmony. If you that note in the harmonic series is it's a quarter tone, which is halfway between a perfect 4th and a flat 5th. It's halfway between those. It's a very weird note. 12 click is just a double of 3 and 6, so it's related to those. And that's it. Remember I said 3s and count in 3s and 4s? Anything that's a multiple of 3 is basically a 3. So it'll be a normal rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But now listen with the internal clicks. Since I said that 12's a 3, it won't be that weird. Listen, it'll actually kind of relate. It's not totally jarring. But we have the possibility of 12 swing, not an odd number, so 1 bar to repeat itself. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then we have a 13 click, so 1 bar of 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Would be jarring for sure. 13 is an extremely odd harmony. It's a quarter tone that is almost exactly between a minor 6th and a major 6th. So it's a note we do not have if you're looking at the harmonic series. So also it's a rhythm that'll sound very weird. Whenever a harmony is strange, the rhythm is also strange. Remember I said they're the same thing, harmony and rhythm. They truly are. The quicker we can get that into our heads, we might actually understanding how they relate and incorporate those similarities into our compositions, which is what I'm trying to do. I'm not sure I've really achieved that yet, but I kind of have some of the tools here that might be able to achieve that. So 13 in 1 bar. So you also have 13 in 2 bars, which might be a little bit more realistic. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And just to reiterate, how would you do that on step record? You would do, since 2 bars have 8 quarter notes, see it's on quarter notes, I want 13 in that time, and I want my duration at 50% so I can see some spaces between these clicks. And then I just hit the key that I want to trigger on the sound 13 times. So 13 in the course of 2 bars. Then we have 14, which is just a double of 7. But you also have 14 swing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's starting to get really absurd. You would probably need to make a slower tempo to make 14 swing. And I think slowing down in general on compositions that use some of this stuff might allow the composer to open up a little bit, because it starts to get fast. Who the hell's going to count that? God, is that even correct? I'm really questioning. That sounds so weird. I just don't know if it's so fast or if I step recorded that wrong. Who knows? 15 click. Then we have 15 in 2 bars, 1, 2, 3, which is more probably practical. But 15 against the 4 click would be weird. Kind of cool though. 15 is related to 5. Anytime there's multiplicity, What if I turn off the DP internal click and turn on the 5 click and the 15 click? I bet they will have an accord because 15 is just 5 times 3. Yep. See how it's semi-normal? You could probably even put the 10 in there, I bet. It's just a fast tempo. Anyway, that's all the clicks, and you can see. Now, anytime I want to start with something, maybe I'll say, oh, I want my conga to be following a 7-click pattern. So I would copy this, these 2 bars, and wherever I'm going to put my conga part, I'd copy that a bunch of times. And whenever I'm playing my conga part in, I probably just solo that click track and not the internal DP click, and that'll really give me, some groove with that 7, because it would be hard for me to do the 7 in the context of that 4/4. So all I do is turn off the internal click and to achieve that. You can even pull up 2 clicks simultaneously if you wanted to practice something. Like let's say I wanted to practice my 4 against 7. You could put on just a drum beat in 4 and then just turn on the 7 click and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You probably would start to lock into the rhythm pretty easily, but it's not super intuitive. So when trying to incorporate these polyrhythms into your compositions and DAW files, it is a bit of trial and error. It doesn't always sound good. There's some weird jarring rhythms. Some of them will grow on you if you listen to them enough. Stay open-minded and try to be aware of the fact that most of these rhythms, when you're dealing with anything others than 4s and 3s, such as 5 or 7 or 9 or 11, or 7 against 5, are not rhythms that most people could do, including most musicians. So there's so many ways to incorporate this into your songs, from subtle to more drastic. For all of you progressive rock people out there that are used to playing in odd time signatures, you might have a little easier time here. Some rock and pop and other types of musicians might not really be as comfortable in most odd time signatures. The advantage in my approach here is we actually stay in 4/4, where everything I'm doing is superimposed on 4/4, so we can always attempt to understand it in the context of 4. I think that will actually help some of the people who struggle with odd time signatures, is to place it in 4/4 and see how it relates to that. Whereas a prog band that's doing a song in 7/8 would just write it in 7/8. They wouldn't try to compare it to 4/4, and they would just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, short, doom, 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 doom. I'm going to show you a file. It's this one here that I've been tinkering with, really. It's just kind of experimental, but it's a huge palette of sounds and percussion and different types of instruments that I've been working on, because I've been trying to make a template that I can always go to for general composition stuff. But most of what I'm doing with the polyrhythms is in the instrumentation, is in the percussion, but I do add some other instruments because sometimes I like to see what kind of vibe would this composition have. So as a composer, and you're deciding you want to try to incorporate some polyrhythms, you have some decisions to make right off the bat as a composer or arranger. Do you want to emphasize the 4/4 rhythm or not? That's a major one, because if you could just leave out the 4/4 rhythm and then it's not quite as jarring. Remember, if you had a polyrhythm like 3 against 7, which would be pretty weird, 3 against 7 only exists because of both of their relationship to 1. It's kind of like math. All numbers are built from 1. Without 1, the number 3 and 7 fall apart. But still, there might be more subtle ways to emphasize the 4/4 rhythm than having some drums pounding out the 4/4. You could have chord changes just going in 4/4 while everything else goes in 3 and 7. So there's ways to emphasize it or de-emphasize it. If you have percussion hitting the polyrhythm, it's going to be a pretty jarring polyrhythm. It'd be very clear. If you had a cello or viola, the attack is not nearly as strong as a percussion instrument, so it might sound more smooth and kaleidoscopic and just kind of abstract. The 4/4 rhythm could be made really obvious by something like a drum set, or not at all. Like I said, you could just do the 4/4, on the ones you could do chord changes on downbeats. There's a world of possibilities here, but let me tell you, being able to play with these options in a DAW and have them all play them, mathematically perfectly for you, and I can decide which ones I want to hear at any given time, it's such an advantage compared to just practicing these things out in the wild like we used to have to practice. Having this, all this stuff, at your fingertips is really, really amazing. Please be patient, as these are new tools that are foreign to most of us. It takes some time to be able to wield them. And even if you aren't looking to add crazy polyrhythms to your music, you might be surprised how a slow section cello melody could be written, as 5 in the course of 2 beats and just be really delicate and subtle and non-percussive. So right off the bat, does the drum set emphasize the master 4/4 click track? Or does it emphasize one of the other rhythms you might be going with, a 3 or a 5 or a 7? Which percussion do you want doing the different polyrhythms? The conga could be the 7, the timbali could be the 3, there could be a shaker in 9 or in 4. Try to make some number schemes. Let's say I want to do one based on 9, and then right away, that 9 is based on 3. So right there, you could do 9 and 3, and then maybe 9 in the space of 2 bars, and then you'd have 3 different rhythms going on that are all related. By altering these questions, I'm just asking, what are the drums doing? What is the bass doing? Is bass grooving in 4/4 despite all these polyrhythms, or is it going more with, some of the primary polyrhythms in this thing? There's so many different ways you can approach this, and like I said, it does not have to be something drastic. Getting around to playing with this idea, so don't judge the results. I'm literally just putting in ideas, and then you can kind of scale them back as needed, or just use it, or decide it sounded horrible, or listen to it for 20 minutes and it all of a sudden starts to sound pretty good. So this is that huge template I showed you. I'm not going to play you each of the 100+ instruments I have, and I see, if I open folders, orchestral percussion, and all of this stuff comes out, and they're all triggering this Expand 2 plugin, which is very low in RAM and CPU. I do have great contact instruments, but if I tried to do 100+ high-quality contacts instruments, my CPU would probably choke a bit. So it's better to use these really low RAM plugins first. But I do have a whole video on that you can check out about setting up a MIDI template for composing. So I have this huge, you can see most of it is not, I didn't put anything for this file, so template. And mostly what I wanted to do in this file was drums and percussion, but I did want to add some instruments because to me it gives an idea of like, how could I use this? So I couldn't help but doing some instruments. I'm telling you, some of these results are better than other parts of it, but who knows? I'm just kind of exploring this myself. So in the first sequence I said, let's do 9 as a rhythm. So I also know that 9 is related to 3 because 3 times 3 is 9. It's also related to 6 because 3 times 2 is 6. And it's also related to the idea of 9 in 2 bars instead of 1 bar, or even 3 in 2 bars instead of 1 bar. So what I did was just made some arbitrary decisions. If you see down in percussion, I did, every time I make a different rhythm, I'll duplicate a MIDI track, even though they're triggering the same conga sound. Let me open that up for you. Triggering the same conga sound, I wanted to know what rhythm this section is, because otherwise I'm always like, which rhythm am I using there? I have no idea. So you can see here it says congas 9 in 2, which means 9 beats in the course of 2 bars. So our themes for this polyrhythm are 9, 6, and 3. So the conga's doing 9 in the space of 2 whole bars because I wanted it a little slower. I like that 2 bar option because instead of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you can be like 1, 2, 3. So hearing the internal DP click, bar of count off, then let's have the congas play 9, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. Yeah, you can see against the click it's pretty weird, but if I just soloed the conga, it's just 9. Then the bongos I had playing, I think straight up 9, so double that other 9. So let's hear just the bongos. So that's 9 in 1 bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. Against the click would be pretty jarring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's hear those together. Congas 9 in 2 bars and 9 in 1 bar together. And those are related because they're just double, so it's not going to be that weird. But with the click, I bet it would sound more odd. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Remember I said it sounds like rain pattering down? It's kind of what it does. You could use the drum kit. I set up all these options for a drum kit, like kick just being 4 on the floor, kick being 3, kick being a drum pattern in 3, a drum pattern in 4, a drum pattern in 8 swing, a drum pattern in 6. Because then I wanted to decide what kind of groove should it be. So if we wanted to complement this beat, we could have a drum pattern complement 3. So let's hear how that sounds. 3, 1, 2, 3. That's pretty cool. Let me turn off this click. It's kind of annoying. But if we wanted to be contrarian and say that 9, 6, and 3 only have life because 1 gives them life, we could be more contrarian and let's do a drum pattern in 4, and that's going to sound more polyrhythmic because no one's doing the regular 4 at this point. So check it out with 4 in the drums. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. That is still pretty freaking cool, too. I don't know. Maybe my ears are just jacked. My brain is just jacked, but that sounds pretty cool. But 3, it sounds a little bit less jarring because this whole thing is 3s. And then there's always the idea of a shaker, because shaker could be doing anything. So shaker could be doing 4. Let's try the shaker in, I labeled it shaker 4. Every time I do a different rhythm, I just copy the MIDI track and then copy it down so I don't have to wonder, you know, which pattern is this shaker playing again? I just look shakers in 4. So let's, in the drums we decided to keep the 3. So nothing is doing the 1, 2, 3, 4. See how cool this sounds if a shaker just does 1, 2, 3, 4. The only thing doing it. Let's see. 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2. See, if we wanted to make it more normal, we could do the shaker in 3. See, I have shaker 3 right there as an option, and that's a little more 2, 3. But listen to this. 2, 3, 4, 1. That all sounds pretty darn cool. I'll keep the 4 for now. I like 4 because something's got to represent, and I just think that might be a good. What else is there? Let's see what's muted. There's a timbali that's 3 in 1 bar. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So the timbali's going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There's also a djembe that's doing 3 in 2 bars. So that's really slow. So check out this djembe. 2, 3. So it's 2 bars. 1, 2, 3. And all that relates, right? Those are all rhythms of 9, 6, 3. The only thing going against anything right now is the shaker that's doing the rhythm of the 4, 4 itself. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You would probably feel the song in 3 and write it in 3 if you just heard it like this. You'd think of it as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But this is a new paradigm for that. 1, 1. So that djembe is going. What else do we have there? There is some kind of busking percussion or tambourine or something. I didn't even write the rhythm that's playing. I could probably figure it out. Shoot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. It's 6 swing. So let me just write that in the track name here, 6 SW, and then I don't know if it's playing that the entire time, so might need to, oh, it is. So if I made a different rhythm on that busking percussion. So 6, remember nothing's doing 6, we're doing 3s and 9, so I decided why not mix it up a little and do the 6 as swing. So it's swing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2. Because straight to 1, straight on everything is kind of boring, so that. Listen to the different flavor that adds. So no 6 swing. Now with it. That's a lot going on, but it's not that disjointed. I mean, what if we did a 4 on the floor kick drum here? How would that sound with it? 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Could also do kick 3 on the floor. Actually, we already are in the drum beat, so. Uh-oh, more vacuuming. Then I did some snaps that are going through some spring reverb. I don't even know what I was thinking on those. I might have just did them in 4. as far I did a stand-up bass because I wanted to pretend that there was some kind of like crazy little jazz bass thing. I think the bass is kind of almost thinking of itself in 4. Let's see. It's like swing. So it's swing in 4, which is weird, right? There's nothing else. We have swing in 6, we have 9, we have 9 in 2 bars, we have 3, we have the drum set emphasizing 3, we have a shaker doing 4, the only thing doing 4, but now there's something playing in 4, but it's swinging, so it's really 8th notes, and it's not straight 8th notes. It's dum, ba-dum. It's kind of just like a jazz bass line, right? Of course, I'll replace this MIDI sound with my own stand-up bass, but for now, of course, I probably put some chords on it. Let's see what else is playing there anywhere. There's an analog pad just playing some kind of chord. I wanted to see what kind of... Now let's hear it with all that crazy percussion. So I'm going to take it out of solo here. I want to see which drum is playing, because I think I want the 3, not the 4. Take off the click too. And I can admit right now that bass line, maybe it would be kind of cool if I really came up with something cool in my stand-up, but it's kind of jarring. So like I might decide here to like, what would it sound like if I was going a little more with a 3 on the bass, but made it, a little bit jazzy, because it's cool. Like I think that has some merit, but considering how much there is going on, I mean, that bass line, it kind of pulls a little bit. There was another take of stand-up bass. I don't know if I played that one in 3. Let's see what I did. 2. I think that's still in 4. 3, 4, 1. Yeah. So, anyway, I'd maybe. I love the timbre that the stand-up bass. You can tell, like compositionally, just having this palette and being like, yeah, I want some crazy percussion thing with some raucous little stand-up bass part is a good idea. It's just there's some rub here because there's so much other stuff going on. So I'm gonna try one at a different time, and maybe I'll show you how that goes later. Maybe, though, I could complement that bass. Let's try this. So remember, I have all these different drum possibilities for patterns. So that's the drums in 3. What if I did 8 swing, which is basically what that stand-up bass is? Maybe that would support the stand-up bass and give it a little bit more of a foundation, or maybe it would just sink the entire thing because it's too much going on. So let's hear. It definitely stabilizes the stand-up bass. You might have the opinion that that's still too much going on, but it sounds actually better. I'm conflicted which one I like. Maybe switching between the 8 swing and the 3 on the drums might be kind of cool. So I might go in there and I do have the track called Drum Stage. When I finally make decisions of what I want to be the master, I'll say, oh, I want 4 bars of this drums in 3, and then 4 bars of this 8 swing, and then I'll make a master track, and that will be the only one that's play enabled, until I replace them with real drums. But that would be kind of the comp take of all of these different drum parts that I have the option of copying in. And remember, like I said, we have all these clicks over here. I always, if I have a new section that I want to do something, I just highlight these 2 bars. Let's say this is click 5 clicks, so 5 in 1 bar, and then I need it over here in this section. Same track, 5 in 1 bar, and then just repeat, copy that a bunch of times as much as I need it. It's all really easy, and I love that it's just sitting right here at the beginning of the track, and I don't want to see all that, so I collapse it. Anyway, I eventually go into this new rhythm that I base more on 3s and 7s. Let me show you that real quick. So I put it right in a row. I don't know if this is a great transition or not, but I think I was just going for it. So check out this change. don't think the drum pattern would be correct there. So it's 3s and 7s. So let's go back to 3 on the drums there. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Hear that cello line? So for all of you who thought, you know, you can only do crazy rhythms with this stuff and you've hung on to this point in the video, listen to this cello line and tell me what rhythm it is. Try to sing it. You don't know it. So that cello, I believe, is 5. So nothing else is doing 5. These are 3 and 7 based rhythms. So it's 5 in the course of 2 bars. So let me just turn on that click and you hear 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And remember, you could just solo it while you're playing the if I was soloing on my cello, I break out my cello, I could say solo that click and then maybe solo the chords. What's playing the chords? Some of these pianos or yeah, let's do the pianos, and let's do, I think there's some analog synths in there or something. So, I don't want to hear the DP internal click. I want to hear 5 and 2 bars. And why aren't I hearing that? Oh, this is somehow 4, 5. So you could just solo in that without any of those other rhythms distracting you. Isn't that easy? Oh, jeez. Look at that. Disaster strikes. But if you look down here, it says bongos in 7. So let's say bongos in 7. So it's like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then you have djembe 3 in 1 bar. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's wild. Then we have tabla in 7. So that's counting in 7. 4, 5, 6, 7. Shakers in 7. So this might be a good time to try a drum beat in 4, because nothing's doing 4. There, that might be too much. That is abject chaos. Okay. So maybe instead, let's try drum in 3. Yeah, the claps. Let's get rid of those claps. That cello's in 5, remember? 5 in the space of 2 beats. So yeah, that rhythm, it's maybe a little jarring in a way, but it's very subtle. Like your mind doesn't go, oh, listen to that 5. I don't even think most musicians that are really adept at that kind of stuff would be like, listen to that 5. But there's something unique going on, that's for sure. There's something unique with the rhythm going on, so that it can be used more in that way than all these crazy percussion instruments playing 7/3. Once again, what is the bass doing? Oh my, I think I was just in another planet here. The bass is... I like to hear just bass. I think a lot of times I keep the bass in 4. 3. It's boom, but it's in this 4/4. But listen, does it sound anything like that? Boom, watch. It's pretty wild. If I wanted to support that bass more, I would probably need to do that drums 8 swing, because this is swing. But let's see how that sounds. that's a bit much. Who knows? Maybe I need to revisit the bass. I think the idea is I want a bass player kind of going wild. I just don't know which rhythm I think it's best to follow. And then remember I said one thing that can make this thing subtly stick to the 4/4 is just the chords. Look where I'm changing chords on all these wild rhythms. Look, there's one chord change, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, right on the 1. There's another chord change. Yeah. So if your chords are falling on 4/4, it really is 4/4, and it kind of sounds strange to have that superimposed over all this. Let's see. Maybe we'll go back to 3 on the drums. I probably need to program a 7 drum pattern too. 2, 3, 1. That cello at 5 is weird, right? Oh, I don't like hearing the main click. Sometimes is like the worst thing ever because it's like so few things are doing that. This bass is kind of chaos. Maybe I'll mute it. Shakers at 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. About that cello, huh? We should turn that up a little bit. Oh. So you can see here it's going to transition to that first rhythm in a little bit here at 9, 6, and 3. And I think when that happens, what drum am I going to want? Back to that old one. Pretty cool rhythms. I mean, they're pretty weird, but you listen to them enough, you start to hear stuff in them. I could change the drums to 4. 1, 2, 3, instead of 1, 2, 3. So anyway, get on my Patreon, High Castle Conservatory. Subscribe to my channel. Leave comments below. Check out some of my original music, High Castle Teleorchestra. We have a great album I'd really love for you to pick up in vinyl or double CD digipack or download on Bandcamp or our website. It's pretty cool stuff. It's where I put a lot of these principles into use, and so I would love for you to check those out more deeply. And please just follow my channel if you like what I'm doing here. I'm trying to get a bit of a scene going here with the odd music education stuff, so that's why I really would love for you to come. There's even a free Patreon. I don't know how long it lets you keep it that way, and then there's some really cheap tiers that go all the way up to most people get most of the stuff, so you could join in on one of the lower tiers and still get a lot of stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching. This was a long video, I know, but it was a pretty thick topic, so this was just part 1. There will be more coming on this polyrhythm stuff, because with this file here, I'm just tinkering, meaning we know what tinkering means. You're not real expert at it. You're just kind of seeing what it can do. Thanks for watching. Take care.